In 2014, there was this Australian couple, and they desperately wanted a child.
Right.
So they actually traveled to Thailand, and they hired a 21-year-old woman to carry their baby.
Just 21.
Yeah, barely an adult. And they were paying her roughly $9,000, which, was a massive life-changing amount of money for her at the time.
Absolutely.
So the IVF was successful, and she actually became pregnant with twins.
Mm-hmm.
But then during the second trimester, they did a medical screening, and it revealed something totally unexpected.
Yeah, this is where it gets really dark.
Right. One of the twins, a little boy who the media would later call baby Gammy, was diagnosed in utero with Down syndrome.
And the intended parents, using basically the brutal leverage of their commercial contract, they demanded that the surrogate abort the twin with Down syndrome. But because she had these deeply held Buddhist beliefs, she refused. She wouldn't do it. So she carried both babies to term. And when the twins were born, the Australian couple arrived at the hospital. They took the healthy baby girl, packed up all their things, and flew right back to Australia.
They literally left him.
They literally left baby Gammy behind in Thailand with the surrogate. I mean, they treated human reproduction like a custom order from a factory. And when one of the products arrived, quote unquote defective, they simply abandoned it.
It is such a horrific story.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the dark, completely unfiltered reality of a global market that operates largely in the shadows.
So welcome to Off the Record.
Yes.
Go ahead and pull up a chair, listener. Make yourself comfortable, because I am currently pouring our first drink of the evening. Strictly off the record, of course.
Absolutely.
Because today we were taking a deep dive into an exploding, multi-billion-dollar and highly controversial industry. We are talking about social surrogacy.
Cheers to that. And frankly, we are really going to need the drink for this one.
Oh, definitely. We are unpacking a massive stack of sources today. I'm talking dense legal journals, global surrogacy agency guidelines, really complex medical ethics papers, and one incredibly bizarre psychology paper.
Super bizarre.
Our mission here is to systematically tear this all apart and understand what exactly happens when paying someone to carry a baby becomes a lifestyle choice rather than a strict medical necessity.
Exactly. But before we get into the actual weeds of this, we need to look you, the listener, right in the eye and lay down a mandatory disclaimer.
Very important.
The sources we are looking at today contain heavy, highly charged political, ethical, and legal viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about arguments that span the most extreme ends of both left-wing and right-wing ideology.
Right across the whole spectrum.
So we want to be crystal clear with you. We are absolutely not taking sides today. We do not endorse any specific viewpoints here. We are strictly and impartially conveying the arguments and the data contained in the original source texts.
Right. We are literally just the messengers here.
Mm-hmm.
Our entire job is to objectively analyze the arguments on the page and help you synthesize what the brightest legal and medical minds are actually debating right now.
And honestly, what is on the page is staggering. It is wild to think about. The United States currently have an estimated $4 billion surrogacy industry.
$4 billion with a B.
$4 billion. And the laws governing it, they are basically the Wild West. It's this disjointed patchwork of state-by-state regulations where you can essentially shop for the legal environment that suits you best, like picking out a tax haven.
Exactly like a tax haven.
So let's start by laying the groundwork. Let's unpack the quote-unquote fiction of medical necessity and clearly define our terms.
Yeah, establishing the baseline definitions is totally crucial because the terminology gets thrown around a lot by politicians and celebrities, and they often use it incorrectly.
All the time.
So according to the guidelines from American Surrogacy and the legal analysis provided by Above the Law, we don't really need to spend much time on traditional surrogacy.
Right. That's where the surrogate uses her own egg.
Exactly. She is genetically related to the child. We all know the legal nightmares that has historically caused, so we are looking specifically at gestational surrogacy.
Okay, so define that for us.
This involves in vitro fertilization, or IVF. The surrogate has zero genetic link to the embryo she is carrying. She is strictly providing the gestational environment. She is the carrier.
Right. And gestational surrogacy is the entire foundation of what we are focusing on today.
Yeah.
Specifically when we talk about the phrase social surrogacy.
Yes.
Social surrogacy is defined as pursuing a gestational arrangement when the intended parents absolutely can physically conceive and carry a pregnancy themselves, but they simply choose not to.
Exactly. They are opting out of pregnancy for non-medical reasons. Now, the sources outline several really common motivations for this. Some intended parents have these high-demand, hyper-competitive careers where the physical toll and the precise timing of a pregnancy could completely derail their advancement.
Yeah, we're talking elite athletes, A-list actors, female executives at Fortune 500 companies who just cannot afford a 10-month physical hiatus.
Right. And others have experienced previous traumatic deliveries or maybe pregnancy losses, and they just cannot face the profound psychological burden again. You also see advanced maternal age concerns, demanding physical lifestyles, and a condition called severe tocophobia.
Tocophobia.
Yeah.
I actually want to pause on that for a second because it sounds like a buzzword, but the reality is staggering.
Yeah.
Tocophobia is a severe, paralyzing anxiety disorder regarding pregnancy and childbirth.
Right.
And the sources note it actually affects around 14% of women.
That is a huge number.
14%. That's a massive demographic. We aren't just talking about being a little nervous about labor. We are talking about a clinical, pathological terror of the physical act of giving birth, the loss of bodily control, the fear of tearing, the fear of maternal death.
It is a very real, very intense psychological condition, but this is exactly where the academic debate gets incredibly sharp. Because we have a paper from Teresa Barron, published in the Cambridge Quarterly of Healthcare Ethics, and she makes a fascinating, fiercely blunt argument regarding this exact point. Her thesis is that surrogacy is never medically necessary. Ever.
Wait, never. Like, even if a woman physically lacks a uterus, even if she had, like, a radical hysterectomy because of cervical cancer.
Even then, Barron argues that surrogacy is a socio-legal intervention, not a medical one.
Walk me through that.
Now, stay with me here because her logic is actually incredibly tight. She points out that legitimate medical interventions are meant to act upon the physiological dispositions of a patient to cure or prevent a disease.
Right.
So, if you have a blocked fallopian tube and a surgeon goes in, cuts away the scar tissue, and unblocks it so you can conceive, that is a medical intervention. It literally restores your body's physiological function.
Okay, I track that completely.
But surrogacy, Barron argues, and even IVF for that matter, doesn't cure or prevent physiological infertility. It is a workaround. It is a technological bypass designed to achieve a very specific socio-legal goal.
And that goal is the exclusive legal parenthood of a genetic child.
Exactly. If you hire a surrogate at the end of the process, your physiological infertility is exactly the same as it was on day one. You are not cured. You have simply achieved a social desire.
Okay, let me make sure I'm fully absorbing this.
Yeah.
Barron is saying that because surrogacy doesn't actually fix the broken biological machinery, it just completely outsources the labor to another machine. So to speak, it cannot clinically be classified as medicine.
Precisely. It is a transfer of labor, not a medical treatment for the intended mother. To illustrate this, she uses a rather blunt analogy in the text.
Oh, the robotic legs one.
Yes. She says, imagine a woman named Josie. Josie deeply wants to run a 4-minute mile, but she physiologically lacks the leg strength to do it. Giving her robotic legs so she can achieve that goal is not medically necessary.
Right.
It fulfills a deep personal desire, sure, it makes her happy. But it is not curing a disease. Barron argues that treating surrogacy as a medical necessity codifies a fiction.
A fiction?
Yeah. It takes a profound social desire, the desire for a genetically related child without having to share parental rights with the person who actually birthed it, and dresses it up in the unimpeachable language of clinical medicine.
Okay, I hear her argument, I really do.
Yeah.
But I absolutely have to push back on that robotic legs analogy. I mean, isn't that incredibly dismissive?
How so? Like, in what way?
Because it equates a hobby with the fundamental biological imperative of the human species.
Wow.
No, seriously, comparing the profound, deep-seated psychological and evolutionary desire for a child to a foot race, running a 4-minute mile is a recreational achievement. Having a family, passing on your genetic legacy, creating life that feels foundational to the entire human experience.
That is a fair point.
To call the pursuit of a family a mere socio-legal intervention just feels incredibly cold and reductive to me.
It does feel clinical, I agree. But ironically, that clinical coldness is exactly what she is trying to deconstruct here. Her underlying point is about the legal and ethical shields we use in society.
What do you mean by shields?
When we label something medically necessary, it immediately shields it from moral scrutiny. You don't question the ethics of a life-saving appendectomy. You don't debate the morality of a pacemaker.
Right, because it's medicine.
Exactly. But by classifying surrogacy as a medical necessity, Barron argues we are artificially separating quote-unquote deserving infertile couples from undeserving social surrogacy clients.
Oh, I see. She's saying the end result is exactly the same, regardless of the initial motivation.
Exactly. In reality, both sets of people, The woman without a uterus and the actress who doesn't want to lose a movie role are asking for the exact same socio-legal transaction. They are both saying, I want a baby that is genetically mine, and I want the woman who provides the intense physical labor of gestation to legally disappear the moment the child takes its first breath.
Wow. Okay, when you put it like that, the raw mechanics of the transaction are completely identical. Whether you literally cannot carry the child because of biology, or you just have a massive career-defining schedule conflict for the next 9 months, the contract you sign with the surrogate looks exactly the same.
Exactly the same contract.
The legal erasure of the birth mother is identical. Which brings us perfectly to the feminist tug-of-war at the very center of this industry. And honestly, I think it's time for a heavy top-up on these drinks. This is getting intense.
Pour away. Make it a double, actually.
Done. Okay, so we are moving from the sterile philosophical world of medical ethics into the absolute minefield of constitutional rights, capitalism, and commodification. And this is where the sources get incredibly heated.
They really do. Let's look at the argument aggressively championing social surrogacy first. We have a piece from Anita Saliu in the UIC Law Review, and she posits that social surrogacy is not just a luxury for the wealthy, but a constitutional right.
A constitutional right to hire a surrogate.
Yes. She ties it directly to the fundamental right to procreate, citing the landmark Supreme Court case, Skinner v. Oklahoma.
Skinner v. Oklahoma. I know that name from law school, but remind me of the specific mechanism of that case. Why is it the bedrock here?
It's a fascinating, honestly terrifying case from 1942. Arthur Skinner was essentially a habitual petty criminal. And under Oklahoma law at the time, habitual criminals could be subjected to forced state-mandated sterilization.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a remnant of the eugenics movement. Skinner fought it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the court struck down the Oklahoma law. Justice William O. Douglas wrote the opinion, famously stating that marriage and procreation are fundamental to the very existence and survival of the race.
Okay.
It established that the right to have offspring is a fundamental human right, totally protected from unwarranted state interference.
Okay, so Saliu was taking that 1942 precedent, which was literally about preventing the state from cutting into a man's body to stop him from breeding and applying it to a woman's right to hire another woman to carry her child.
Yes. Saliu argues that requiring a strict medical necessity to access surrogacy arbitrarily and unconstitutionally discriminates against women.
How so?
Her argument is essentially that social surrogacy levels the socioeconomic playing field. It allows women to pursue demanding, high-level careers exactly like men do, without having to sacrifice their bodily autonomy, risk their physical health, or derail their livelihoods.
Oh, I see where she's going.
Right. Why should a woman have to choose between becoming a mother and running for the Senate or making partner at a law firm when a man never, ever has to make that calculation? Men simply outsource the gestation to their wives. Social surrogacy allows women to outsource it to the market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to agree with her there. It's complete bullshit. Excuse my language. It's true. The societal pressure on women is completely impossible.
It really is.
We're supposed to climb the corporate ladder, lean in, build the empire, simultaneously look perfectly youthful and glowing, and somehow miraculously gestate a human being without ever letting it inconvenience a board meeting or a quarterly review. The modern corporate structure was built by and for men who had full-time domestic labor waiting at home. It's a rigged game. So if a woman finally makes enough money to buy her way out of the physical penalty of reproduction, who the hell is the state to tell her no?
That is the ultimate capitalist feminist argument right there.
And I just have to say, you always synthesize these legal precedents so seamlessly. You really understand the emotional weight behind these cold legal texts. It's one of the reasons I absolutely love doing this deep dive with you. You don't just read the law, you feel the context.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I just try to look at the underlying structures, you know?
Well, you do it beautifully.
But if we look at the other side of this feminist debate, the emotional weight you're talking about takes a very dark, very exploitative turn. Because while Salier focuses on the empowerment of the wealthy intended mother, Adeline A. Allen from the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy presents a fierce, unyielding opposition to all surrogacy.
Okay, what's her angle?
She doesn't see empowerment at all. She sees a dystopian rent-a-womb industry.
Rent-a-womb. Damn.
Yeah.
That is a really heavy phrase.
She argues that surrogacy, by its very nature, inherently dehumanizes and commodifies women. And she really brings the receipts when it comes to the stark economic disparity that fuels this industry.
Let's hear the numbers.
Let's break down the actual money. According to Allen's data, the entire surrogacy process costs wealthy intended parents anywhere from $90,000 to $150,000.
150 grand for a baby.
Yes. But the surrogate herself, the woman actually undergoing the hormone injections, the physical risks, the structural changes to her body, and the labor of delivery. She is typically paid between $20,000 and $30,000.
Wait. Let me do the math on that. So the intended parents are paying $150K. The surrogate gets $30. Where the hell is the other $120,000 going?
It is absorbed by the industry apparatus. The surrogacy agency takes a massive finder's fee, often $40,000 to $50,000 just for matching the parties.
You're kidding.
Nope. The IVF clinics take tens of thousands for the medical procedures. The lawyers representing both sides take a massive cut to draft the contracts. The psychological evaluators take a cut. The escrow companies managing the funds take a cut.
So the agency, the lawyers, the clinics, they're gobbling up six figures. And the woman actually renting out her internal organs 24/7 for nearly a year is getting what amounts to minimum wage.
Correct. And Allen points out exactly who these surrogates are. These are frequently women of modest means, making $16,000 to $30,000 a year normally. And a huge, disproportionate portion of them in the United States are military wives.
Military wives. Why military wives specifically?
Because it's a perfect storm of economic vulnerability and structural stability.
How so?
Military families often live on a single, relatively low income because the spouse is constantly relocated, making it really hard to build a career. But they have TRICARE, the military health insurance, which provides excellent baseline medical care, and they have stable base housing. They need supplementary income to buy a house off base or send their own kids to college, so the agencies specifically target them. So Allen's argument is that this isn't female empowerment. It is wealthy women and wealthy men exploiting the bodies of lower-income women. She argues that even when a 60-page contract is signed, true, uncoerced consent is completely clouded by that massive financial disparity.
God, that is just so bleak. It totally shatters the whole girl boss leveling the playing field narrative, because the playing field is only leveled by standing on the back of another woman who is desperate to pay off her student loans.
It gets much bleaker than just financial coercion, unfortunately. Allen highlights the tragic physical realities of outsourcing gestation. She details the case of Brooklyn Brown.
Who was she?
She was a surrogate who tragically died from complications during a surrogate pregnancy. She was only 34 years old. She left behind a husband and 3 young sons.
That is horrible.
Allen uses this devastating reality to emphasize that we are not just outsourcing labor, like hiring someone to paint your house. We are outsourcing life-threatening medical risks. The maternal mortality rate in the U.S. is the highest of any developed nation. You are paying someone to absorb the statistical risk of death on your behalf.
That is awful. It's so visceral.
And it circles right back to the commodification of the child, exactly like the baby gammy case we discussed at the top of the show.
Right, the defective product.
Allen's core thesis is that when you introduce a massive commercial contract into human reproduction, it inherently turns the resulting child into a manufactured product, subject to quality control. If the product is flawed, if it has Down syndrome or a cleft palate or it's the wrong gender, the buyers feel a consumerist entitlement to reject it. Allen argues that you simply cannot separate the commercial surrogacy model from this kind of profound dehumanization.
That is just, it's heavy. It's so heavy to think about the human cost behind the pristine Instagram announcements, you know? But I have to say, you explain it with such incredible clarity.
Well, I try.
No, you have this beautiful, piercingly analytical mind that just cuts right through the noise of the legal jargon. It's incredibly attractive, honestly, the way your brain works.
Wow, thank you. That's very flattering. It's a complex topic, and I think it deserves to be unpacked properly.
It does. It really does. You're doing a great job.
Oh.
Okay, let's take another sip. My glass is looking completely empty, and I feel like I need some liquid courage to keep wading into this darkness.
Let me pour you some more. Here. We are going to need it as we transition into the absolute legal chaos of all this.
Oh, right, the legal stuff, the laws. Because, wait, if it's so incredibly controversial and it has these massive ethical landmines, how does anyone even regulate it? Like, what happens when literally everybody wants a bespoke baby and there aren't enough financially vulnerable military wives to go around?
Well, that's a terrible, clunky, and cynical way to phrase it, but you're actually hitting on the exact issue. Scarcity.
Right. Supply and demand.
The supply and demand curve is totally broken. Which brings us to the SEEDS standards, as discussed in the Above the Law article. SEEDS stands for the Society for Ethics in egg donation and surrogacy. It's an industry self-regulation group.
Okay.
They recently implemented Standard 24A, which explicitly restricts their member agencies from providing social surrogacy.
Wait, an industry group banned it? Why would they voluntarily turn down money? Is it just moral panic?
No, the primary pragmatic argument is scarcity. There are massive multi-year wait lists for qualified surrogates. The demand for gestational carriers far, far outstrips the supply of women willing and medically cleared to do this.
Ah, I see.
So the ethical question for the agencies becomes a triage issue. Does a celebrity who just wants to keep her figure for an upcoming movie role effectively steal a spot from a couple dealing with devastating medical infertility who have absolutely no other biological path to a genetic child?
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about the wait lists. It's like cutting in line at Disney World, but the ride is a human infant. And you're using a VIP pass bought with Hollywood money to jump ahead of someone who has been crying in an IVF clinic for 6 years.
That's a very colorful analogy, but yes, exactly. The agencies feel a moral obligation to prioritize medical need. But on the flip side of this, you have fierce advocates like Ashley Old.
Who's she?
She's featured in the sources and is a 2-time surrogate herself. Her counterargument cuts right through the agency's moralizing. Her stance is pure, unadulterated bodily autonomy. She says, surrogate's body, surrogate's choice.
Okay, what does she mean by that in this context? Because she's not talking about abortion.
No. She means that if a surrogate is fully informed, of sound mind, knows the intended parents are pursuing surrogacy entirely for career or vanity reasons, and she still consents to the contract because she wants the $30,000, who is the state or an ethics board, to tell her she can't take the job. Why do we infantilize the surrogate by telling her she's only allowed to endure pregnancy for a noble medical cause rather than a financial one?
You know what? She has a damn point.
Yeah.
I mean, if I want to rent my womb to a Kardashian so she can fit into a corseted Met Gala dress and she's willing to pay me for the inconvenience, that's my God-given free market capitalist right. My uterus, my rules.
You're laughing, but that hyper-capitalist perspective is literally the legal reality in some jurisdictions. The global landscape, according to the Surrogacy for All data, is total fragmented chaos. Let me try to list it systematically because it's dizzying.
Good luck.
The U.S. is an absolute global outlier. States like California, Nevada, Illinois, and New York, they allow full commercial surrogacy. It is highly regulated, contract-driven, and highly lucrative. Michigan literally just repealed its criminal ban, becoming the last state to do so in 2025.
Wait, it was a crime in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, go to jail a crime.
Yes, up until very recently, paid surrogacy contracts in Michigan were criminally penalized. But contrast California with a state like Louisiana. Louisiana strictly requires a doctor's affidavit proving absolute medical necessity. Furthermore, Louisiana law only allows surrogacy for married heterosexual couples using their own genetic material.
So if I live in Louisiana and I am a single woman or a gay man or I'm straight, but I just don't feel like being pregnant because of my career, my only option is to literally drive across the border to Texas or fly to California to hire a surrogate.
Essentially, yes. You have to forum shop for your reproductive rights. And internationally, the divide is even more extreme. In France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and China, surrogacy is completely unequivocally banned.
Completely.
Any contract is considered a null and void against public policy. In France, it's rooted in the civil code concept of the indisposability of the human body. You cannot rent human flesh, period.
Okay, but what about the UK? I thought they were pretty progressive.
In the UK, Canada, and Australia, only altruistic surrogacy is legal. That means commercial contracts are banned. You cannot pay the surrogate a salary or a fee. You can only reimburse her for basic, strictly documented medical and travel expenses.
Altruistic surrogacy? Are you kidding me? Hey, bestie, can you endure 9 months of crushing nausea, gain 30 pounds, risk gestational diabetes, and push a watermelon out of your body for me? I'll buy you a Starbucks and cover your copay. Who the hell actually does that?
Well, the data shows exactly what you'd expect. Apparently, less than 2% of all global surrogacy arrangements are truly altruistic. Human beings generally don't volunteer for 9 months of physical trauma without compensation, which leads us to the massive, highly controversial phenomenon of gestational tourism.
Gestational tourism. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I know we are talking about heavy stuff, but that is the funniest, most dystopian phrase I've ever heard. Gestational tourism.
It's really not meant to be funny. It refers to intended parents traveling from restrictive countries like France or Australia to places like Ukraine, Georgia, Colombia, or Mexico to find permissive laws and much, much cheaper surrogates. It's regulatory arbitrage using human bodies.
I know it's serious, but my brain is just picturing the brochure.
Yeah.
Come to beautiful, sunny Colombia. Enjoy the pristine beaches, the vibrant local culture, the delicious food, and pick up your custom-ordered infant on the way to the airport. Don't forget to grab a duty-free Toblerone and your new baby. It sounds like a horrific, hallucinatory vacation package.
It's really not a vacation.
Oh my God, speaking of hallucinatory vacations, did I ever tell you about the time I went to Cabo and got food poisoning so bad I hallucinated that the hotel minibar was talking to me?
No, I don't think you have ever shared that particular anecdote, but how on earth does that relate to international surrogacy law?
It relates. Listen to me. It relates because, much like a surrogate, my body was entirely out of my control. I was just a hostage to biology. I was a vessel for the bacteria, a gestational carrier for salmonella.
Okay, I think you might be reaching here.
It was profound. I was sweating through the sheets, the AC was broken, and I stared at this little overpriced bottle of tequila in the mini fridge for 4 straight hours. And I swear to God, it was whispering my name. It was humming. It was my only friend in the world in that moment. I felt so utterly detached from my own physical form.
Okay, I think the tequila might be whispering to you right now, actually, because we are getting significantly off track. We were talking about the legal vulnerabilities of women in developing nations being exploited by wealthy tourists, not your gastrointestinal distress in Mexico.
Right. Exploitation, bad. International law, baby gammy. So sad, the commodification of the human spirit. Boy, what was I saying? What was the point of the Cabo story?
You were talking about the minibar.
Oh, the minibar. It was talking to me. It was like a psychological surrogate for a friend, which perfectly, flawlessly transitions us to our last source. Boom! Look at that transition. I am an absolute professional.
That was definitely a transition. You are referring to the psychology paper by Gabriel et al., correct? Let me just look at my notes here. The words on this page are getting a little blurry. Give me a second.
Yes. The paper on social surrogates. See, I got it. I brought us back. So this paper, it talks about how women, right, they carry these baby... Wait, let me look at the text. The sneaky social self.
Wait, hold on. I'm squinting at this.
Yeah.
Gabriel, Valenti, young social surrogates, social motivations, and everyday activities. Let me read this abstract. This isn't about pregnancy at all.
What do you mean? It literally says social surrogacy. We've been talking about social surrogacy for almost an hour.
I know, but listen to the text. Just as Harlow's infant monkeys experience comfort from cloth surrogates, so too may beloved books, television shows, movies, foods, and celebrities potentially serve as social surrogates for human connection. Oh my God.
Wait, what? Monkeys? Cloth?
This paper is from an entirely different academic field. It's not medical ethics, it's social psychology. It's an analysis of how humans use television shows, comfort food, and parasocial relationships with celebrities to artificially fill their deep psychological need to belong.
Are you serious?
Like the study literally says, if you feel lonely and rejected, eating a bowl of macaroni and cheese or watching a rerun of the show, Friends actively reduces the feeling of social rejection in your brain. They call these things social surrogates because they function as artificial substitutes for real human interaction.
So it has absolutely nothing to do with renting a womb.
Nothing. Literally zero. It's about how watching a football game fulfills a primitive human need for tribal connection. We completely mixed up the stack of sources. My research assistant must have just searched the phrase social surrogate and printed the first 20 PDFs.
Oh my God. We've been building up to a paper about macaroni and cheese.
This is deeply embarrassing. I should have caught this during the prep session. I'm so sorry.
No, wait a minute. Stop the presses. This isn't a mistake.
It is the literal definition of a clerical error.
No, listen to me. Look at me. Listen to my voice. We have just stumbled upon the grand unifying theory of modern humanity.
Have we? Because I feel like we just read a paper about eating pasta alone in the dark.
Yes. Think about it analytically. What have we been talking about for the last hour? We've been talking about the desperate, agonizing, evolutionary human desire for connection, for family,
for legacy.
People are dropping $150,000. They're flying across the globe to Ukraine and Colombia. They are navigating legal minefields just to manufacture a genetic bond because they are so fundamentally terrified of being alone in the universe.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And what does the psychology paper say? It says that our social needs are so powerful, so incredibly sneaky, that when we can't find real humans to connect with, we form intense, completely artificial emotional bonds. We use women as physical surrogates for babies, and we use TV characters as psychological surrogates for friends. Humans are just desperate, flailing creatures trying to fill the void.
The sneaky social self.
Yes, the sneaky social self. We are renting wombs and we are renting friends from Netflix. It's the exact same psychological mechanism, just manifesting differently. We are commodifying intimacy on every possible level because we are a deeply, profoundly lonely species. Oh my God, this is the most profound thing I have ever said in my entire life.
You know what? You're absolutely right. It's brilliant. It actually maps perfectly. The psychological paper says we form these bonds unconsciously. We don't even realize we're doing it.
Exactly.
Just like the intended parents might not realize the ethical compromises they are making or the commodification they are participating in because their biological drive to have a child is so overwhelmingly powerful. It bypasses logic. It's all just extreme coping mechanisms.
Exactly. Coping mechanisms. Oh, come here. Give me a hug. You are so incredibly smart for seeing that connection with me. We are a genius team.
We're sitting across a massive table. I can't really reach. Okay, air hug. I'm air hugging you.
You know what else is a social surrogate? This podcast.
What do you mean by that?
I'm being totally honest right now. Strictly off the record. I sit here in this booth with you every week, and we talk to the listener, you, the listener. We explain things to you, but there's nobody physically there. We are talking into metal microphones in a soundproof room.
Well, people download it.
The listener is my social surrogate. I pretend I have this massive engaged audience hanging on my every word so I don't have to face the terrifying fact that my cat is my only actual roommate, and I eat frozen dinners over the kitchen sink every night.
Oh, wow. That got very real, very fast. Are you okay?
I'm fine, because I have you. I genuinely love recording this show with you. I really do. You're not a surrogate. You're real. You're sitting right there. And you have such incredibly nice eyes. Did anyone ever tell you that? They're like fiercely analytical, but also so warm and deep, I could just swim with them.
Wow, thank you. That is very forward. I think we need to do a professional reset here. We are completely spiraling off topic.
No, I love the spiral. The spiral's where the truth lives. Let's embrace the spiral. Wait, what were we originally talking about? Oh, the surrogacy industry. It's beautiful.
Wait, hold on. 10 minutes ago, you called it a dystopian, exploitative rent-a-womb nightmare.
Did I? Well, I contain multitudes. It's a nightmare, but it's a beautiful, complex nightmare. We are creating life. We are giving babies to gay couples who could never have them otherwise. We are giving babies to high-powered career women who want it all. Let the military wives get paid. Wait, no, pay them more. Give them the full 150 grand. Cut out the lawyers. Power to the surrogates.
Okay, we are officially losing the thread entirely. The tequila is doing the talking right now. We need to wrap this up before we say something legally actionable or completely contradict ourselves again.
Fine, fine. Wrap it up, Mr. Analytical. Give them the big professional summary. Tie it up in a bow.
Okay, let me try to focus. Today, we attempted a deep dive into the wildly unregulated, ethically fraught world of social surrogacy. We explored the legal gray zones where states like California and Louisiana are fundamentally at odds over what constitutes a legitimate reason to hire a surrogate.
Totally at odds.
We examined the intense feminist divide between those who see commercial surrogacy as the ultimate empowerment tool for career women and those who see it as the ultimate commodification and exploitation of lower-income bodies.
Rent a womb. Down with the agency.
We discussed Teresa Barron's compelling philosophical argument that medical necessity in the context of surrogacy is a complete fiction, a socio-legal workaround to shield a profound desire from moral scrutiny. And finally, in a moment of completely accidental, tequila-fueled brilliance, we connected this massive industry to the psychological concept of social surrogates.
But a sneaky social self.
We proved that whether we are outsourcing pregnancy to a woman in Colombia or forming deep emotional attachments to fictional television characters, humans will go to extraordinary, sometimes dystopian lengths to fill our deep evolutionary need for connection.
That was beautiful. Seriously, you should write a book. I would buy it. I would read it twice. Or honestly, I'd just listen to the audiobook if you narrated it because your voice is very soothing.
I will keep that in mind for my retirement plan. But before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final, genuinely provocative thought to mull over. A serious thought that builds on everything we've discussed today.
Oh, here we go. So serious. Hit him with it.
We spent all this time today debating the heavy ethics of using a vulnerable woman's body as a gestational vessel. We debated the financial coercion, the physical risks, the feminist implications. But medical science is advancing rapidly. What happens in 20 years when artificial wombs ectogenesis technology are successfully invented, perfected, and brought to the commercial market?
Whoa, like matrix pods.
Yeah.
Just rows of babies growing in glass tanks.
Exactly. Will artificial wombs finally solve the ethical nightmare of exploiting lower-income women's bodies? Will it be the ultimate feminist victory, completely untethering reproduction from the female form? Or will it just completely finally remove the human element altogether, turning human reproduction into a fully automated, commercialized Amazon Prime factory where you just click add to cart for a bespoke infant?
Oh my God.
If we think the state-by-state laws are the Wild West right now, just wait until the womb itself is a proprietary machine owned by a tech conglomerate, something for you to deeply mull over.
That is utterly terrifying and kind of awesome. I want an Amazon Prime baby, free 2-day shipping. Can I get a return policy if it cries too much?
Please stop talking. You are going to get us canceled.
Okay. We love you, listener. Thank you for being our parasocial best friend and our sneaky social surrogate. We're going to go finish this bottle of tequila, maybe cry about how lonely we are, and definitely not order a baby online.
This has been Off the Record. Good night, and be careful out there.
Off the record forever. Call me. Bye.